Hi, everybody. Welcome to Piercing the Veil.
Happy
Happy
Sunday.
Sunday.
We've got happy robins and happy birds. We finally got rain, and I think they're out there busy getting worms out of the ground. So
Yeah,
happy Sunday to everybody.
everybody.
Yeah.
We
My
got quite a
goodness.
few people popping in already.
Yeah. I better get busy. I see a Mad Pax. Welcome in. Oh, keep scrolling. Angelique, welcome. My sister Lori, and probably Mary somewhere. Welcome in, sisters. Got Robin M. Moon at Noon. Lori Ladd. We've got Pops. Everyone's favorite moderator. We got Koss. Welcome in. Latros. Man, we got a lot of Texas people. My goodness. We got Cindy. Hey, Cindy, welcome in. I saw Dwarfy earlier. Where'd he
Yeah,
go?
Dwarf was
Dwarfy?
in here earlier.
Come on, Dwarf. Where'd you go? Gemini. And let's see. Lori, Gemini. Oh my goodness, you guys have been talking for a while. There's Dwarf, Dragonfly, Standing Stones. All right, I'm done. Unless somebody just now came in.
All right. Well, welcome in, everybody. If we didn't get a chance or see your name,
Now I'm scrolling down. Yeah, I think I got everybody. All right, there's Roger. Hey, Roger. Well, Lynn is not a new person. Everyone knows Lynn. I think I've lost track. I think we've had her probably 7, 8 times now.
I don't know. It's been at least 6 I know of.
Yeah,
I don't
Lynn's
know.
been a regular of ours and got a new book and working on another. So it's been a few months and we need an update.
We
So,
do need an update.
yeah, we
I'm
need
worried
an
about
update.
Bob. I want to know what's going on with Bob.
Yeah, what's going on with Bob and just get an update from Lynn. So it's time to get her back on the show.
Yep, Lynn is fantastic. Like you said, we've had her on many times, and she's a terrific author and experiencer. Obviously, that she talks about her experiences in her books and on her podcasts, and fantastic. And she helps people with attachments and all kinds of stuff. And help. The one book that I really liked was the Colors of Heaven,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
where she helps families and people who are experiencing loved ones passing on the other side. And I just love that story. But we're going to be talking about Bob and Becca Dawn Drive today, I believe. So
Cool.
we'll get Lynn up here and we'll see what's going on with her.
What's going on with her?
Especially Bob. I want to know what's going on with Bob. Hi, Lynn.
Hi. Yep, you're on mute.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. Also, everybody, Carol and Jane are on my show, the Lynn Monèt Show, in the archives. It'll definitely be having them come back here pretty soon, and we'll touch in. But you can always also go see their interview. The thing that I like about their interview is, you come in and you see the host and they have the guest, but the host never really has a chance to talk about who they are. And they're two very special people. And we have a whole interview talking about who they are and, some of their experiences and things. And I think that the conversation that we had when they were on really helped to validate a lot of people. There's so many of us like in this group that we are so fortunate to have each other like a family where we can talk about these things and not be looked at funny with the stink eye from somebody, and personally myself, I even take it for granted sometimes because I talk about it all the time anyway, but because all of the people around me also are part of, of the same belief. And so when you have shows on and with Carol and Jane, on my show, people could relate. And a lot of things that they talked about on my show, if anybody is isolated or alone and they're the only one with gifts in their family and they think that there's something wrong with them or they're ridiculed for it, to hear shows like the interview that I had with Carol and Jane, really, really helps validate people. And they say, oh, you know what? I had that same thing happen, or I had something similar happen. And then they don't feel so alone. And then they seek out our groups, and then we have a bigger family. which is a great thing. And so thank you too for having this platform and, having so many wonderful guests on and all of these beautiful people in your chat. I send a lot of love and light, but the which did you kind of want me to talk about first? Becca Drive is about another haunted story. The book with Bob that's going to be coming out, and I can talk about that one too, is No Place Like Home. I want to add that the covers of these two books were done by Gerald. He did a very beautiful job for me. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting one into Amazon, but I have somebody helping me. So my if you get it off of my website, the cover is correct. And it will be corrected soon for the other one, but he did both of them for me. And I really, really appreciated it. He did an amazing job, and Bob really liked the one that he did for us as well. So which one did you want to talk about first?
Well, we can talk about Becca Drive first, because I think we already talked about it a little bit on a show before, but we can just kind of go over it again. But before we do that, tell everybody when you're on the Clyde Lewis Ground Zero Radio Network. Tell them about your show and when it's on.
Well, they reached out because they needed a female host. So they asked me if I would do it. And I was very, very honored because Clyde has such a huge following and he's such a legacy in his own right. They have me on prime time Sunday between 6 and 8 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. And then it also follows Tuesday and Thursday. Now they are pre-recorded. So they play 3 times with each guest. And if anybody in the room, has something special they want to share, maybe want to be a guest, I am all about putting people out there. I think that in some cases, if you have books or you have gifts or you have, whatever it is, sometimes it's kind of hard to get into some of the circles. And I had recently a young lady named Charlotte Cosa, who is part of California Haunts. And she had stepped away for a little bit because she was sick. And then she came and she was on my show and she reached out to me and she said, you wouldn't believe. She said, after just one time on your show, she said, I had 10,500 viewers on my TikTok page.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. So she said, thank you. So there are 200,000, at least 200,000 listeners a day. It does go to 660 radio stations throughout the United States and Canada. And also, of course, the people all over the world can tune in if they want to tune into a Canadian or American radio station. So it does definitely put you out there. I am all about helping people, people like Gerald and Jane, who helped me get to where I am today. I'm not that I'm all that in a bag of chips, but I have gratitude. I'm grateful for that, and because it's important to get this stuff out, especially during this time. Speaking of Bob and I were having a little conversation today, as a matter of fact, and I'm like, with all of this chaos, because like right now I'm having a little bit of chaos in my life, and when the frequencies start to change and you're in your happy place, you're in your 5th dimension place, like Jane has, she has her, you have like a circle or something in your yard, right, where you do things, and you've got the fae and elementals and beautiful things that come in. It's such a serene, heavenly spot to be in, and the love and the elation that you feel, there are no human words for it. But then all of a sudden something happens where you're pulled back into that 3rd dimension, and then all of a sudden you start to realize how heavy and chaotic that is. And a couple of things that Bob had mentioned is that, for one thing, very soon here we're going to be forced to pick lanes. So you got to pick one or the other, and a lot of it entails to self-manifesting, but self-manifesting old school, like, I am perfect illuminating health, 3 times a day in the morning, 4 or 5 times at lunchtime, 9 times before bedtime, and whenever else you can think of it. Post it on your refrigerator and never ever say anything that negates it, like, oh, I don't even want to say it because I have a sore throat or I have a cold. No, I am perfect illuminating health. I'm perfect illuminating health. No, don't, say things to negate it, but it is old school. And the thing is too, is it's very, very important that you say it out loud. In order to manifest it, because you think it, that's an energy that goes out. You speak it, that's an energy that goes out. So it's like a double whammy type thing. And if you have it written down places, you're also reading it. So again, it metabolizes in the brain as well. So it's important to go back and do those things old school, and don't let yourself, Bob said this, don't let yourself get tied up in other people's stuff. Everybody's on their own path. And I know it sounds a little bit selfish because we want to help people. But when we help people that are wallowing in their chaos or their addiction or their whatever it is, and I have to say that I'm kind of going through this right now myself with my son. He recently had his anxiety triggered, and I didn't realize how heavy the third dimension was, because it immediately sucked him out of the fifth and anchored him into the third. And of course, being a mom, I flew out to Arizona. I've been here for a week to try to help. And because he was stuck in the third, I mean, it made it very, very difficult for me to even be able to help him in a lot of ways, because he was just like stuck there. So I know that it sounds selfish, but yes, you have to start focusing on yourself. You have to take care of yourself. You have to love yourself. And just, I'm sorry that's happening to you. You can try a little bit, but if it's going to go on for months and weeks, it's going to pull you into that third dimension when you need to stay in the fifth dimension. And you know what?
Right.
All of these things work out. So, and they're going to work out the way that they're meant to. And it also allows that person to learn their lesson, because there is a lesson in everything, and for them to choose their path. So make sure that you've chosen yours and that you're on that path, and don't let anybody deter you from it. It really is a time to get a little bit selfish and take care of yourself first. That is for sure.
Amen.
So that was just one of the things that he had mentioned. He had also mentioned about the which I think we all know that there's a shadow government, but I'm going to be careful how I word it here, because we're on Fluff Tube, and just had mentioned that it is weakening, although, and they're not humans. So, but I don't even want to go there, because I don't want to have this bumped off. But just to know that our positive manifestations and things like that are working, and we need to keep it up as a collective, because they watch for people to jump on. My son had a attachment on him when I came to Arizona that was somebody else's. I saw it and I'm like, what on earth? And it was mature, and it was on him dangling there like a tick with long willowy legs, and I'm like, oh hell no. That's not his. But they also, and these things are not to play with. They're getting more aggressive. They're jumping on people. So you have to keep your spiritual hygiene intact. You've got to take your salt baths. You've got to do your meditation. You've got to, do your grounding, do your prayers, or whatever it is that you do to protect yourself. Carry your tourmaline and your obsidian, whatever you choose to carry in your pocket that you use for protection, because these things are ugly, and they don't play, and they are looking for, because we have so many people too that are leaving the earth at this time, and they're looking for hosts to jump on so that they can continue their feeding frenzy. So don't let it be you. Do your 6-foot spacing in the grocery store, not because of COVID, but because you don't want somebody's stuff coming off on you. They'll just think that you're still, yes. My son actually picked his up in his office. I'm sorry. I think I have a cat here in my eye, but anyway, we'll just deal with it. I'll just keep winking at you. So anyway, so I believe my son had a person come in to clean his house from his office that had volunteered to be paid to come in and clean. This person was very, very, I mean, I say Schleppbrock, but that really shows my age. I don't think anybody remembers that little hairy Schleppbrock guy that would go around going mousy, woo, woo. So I have to say Pigpen on the Peanuts. Everybody remembers Pigpen on the Peanuts. How he's always whirling, and this woman whirls this negativity about her, and everything is so awful and down, and I mean, it just, talk about an energy vampire. Y'all watch out for those too. Yeah, she came, she cleaned his house, was all over his house, then came to a party that he had 10 days later. And the very next day, he had his triggers were wide open. And I'm pretty sure that attachment that came off of him was hers. So you got to be careful about who you let in your house, because even if you have done your spiritual cleansing, and Bob was talking about this, even if you've done your spiritual cleansing and you have your house saged and you've got your parameters with your little stones and salt in the corners to kind of put those energetic, boundaries in to protect you. If someone walks in your door with an attachment on, well, guess what?
Right.
So if you're inviting someone to your house and for some reason they just can't make it, don't take offense. Take it as a gift, because maybe that person's carrying something that, since your house is clear and your guardian angels or whoever you have watching over you is saying no. You don't want that person in your house, especially right now. So you definitely got to go with it, because it's just those are kind of some of the new updates from Bob of what he's been talking about. Some things he went into a little bit deeper about the government, but I don't think that I would go there, because
Right.
Big Brother's always watching, and I don't want any of us to have any issues with that. But those are the main things that people can do, that their spiritual hygiene, taking care of themselves, being a little bit more selfish, not trying to, chase and help somebody. Help them once or twice. And if they're still doing it, back off and say, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Here's a number for a cab, or here's a delivery service if you need your groceries, if they're not willing to help themselves at all, because you just got to let go right now.
Right.
So anyway,
we always talk about vampires and all that stuff. And I think that was a good point that you made, that not all vampires have a cape and fangs and come in the middle of the night. They come in all forms, especially energy vampires. They come in and they just wreak havoc on you. I mean, they just suck all the joy and energy out of you and your space, and they leave the negativity there behind them. I mean, they don't always absorb and take everything. A lot of times they extrude it out.
Yep. They leave you in a vacuum and you're exhausted. All of a sudden you're all happy going along, and then you need a nap. That is an energy vampire. Avoid those like the plague. Definitely. And like Gerald had said too, I mean, they could be anybody. And not only that, you've got so many reptilian hybrids that are embodied in human bodies that, every once in a while you can catch a peek. Maybe their eye slits briefly or their skin will peel back a little bit. I actually saw one, I think I had mentioned on your show once before, where I had gone to donate some plasma, thinking that it would be a nice deed. And man, they couldn't find my veins, but this one guy found my vein. And I swear, I mean, from his profile, only it was on this side, I could see his skin peel from his ear to his nose, his eye slit, and I could see the scales. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be drinking my plasma back there. I will never come back here again. And I did not come back there. And I recommend people, that whole place, in my opinion, what is the word? Not hypothetically. What is the word? Everybody's allegedly, to me, are all things that turn into reptiles at night. So, but there's a lot of that as well. More and more of them that are blending in. Humans don't eat babies and they don't eat people, but aliens do. So, so some of these humans that look like, that are doing that sort of thing that you assume are human, they're not. So I can't imagine any human eating another human. I mean, like you see their shows about like a plane crash or something, and they're frozen in the snow and they have absolutely nothing else, but it's not something they would normally do, and they would do it out of desperation to survive. But these people do it to keep themselves young, to keep themselves, well, and alive for that
Right.
matter in some cases. So definitely, you just never know who you're sitting next to on a bus either. It could be. I know for a fact that I had a hybrid patient one time. And I'll get into the book in a minute. But did I ever tell you about the hybrid patient that I had?
I don't think so.
I don't think
Okay.
so.
Yeah. I had a lady, absolutely loved her. She had an amazing sense of humor, but she had eyes like a big wild-eyed rabbit. And she had no children. And granted, they can have children, especially if they mix with human people. But usually they don't. I'm sorry, this hair is driving me nuts. Let me just try to get it. So anyway, I would go at around 10 o'clock. She would always have me bring down her sleeping pill. And I went down, it was 10 o'clock. And on 3 different occasions, I walked into the room and there were beings that were standing behind her. When I would walk into her room, her door was here, but her bed was up against this wall right here. So it was angling this way. So I could see her full length as I walked in to her room. And these things were always directly on the other side of her, kind of like they were behind a veil. And they were working on her and pulling things kind of like those old-fashioned operator phone boards where they used to have the plugs that they'd plug in and stick
Right.
somewhere else for the party lines.
Switchboard.
Yeah, switchboard. Well, that tells my age. Yeah, remember? Well, you guys are younger than me, but they didn't do that then, but they did have some of the party lines still. But they would be unplugging things and reaching and plugging things in different places on this lady. And I walked in, I could see them. They always were dressed the same. They were in a like light grayish to, could have been white because it was always kind of dark in the room a little bit. Something was covering their face, so I couldn't see like eyeballs or anything. It was kind of squared off with the flap hanging in back. And they were all identically dressed. And the first time that I went in, they were all identically the same size. So I was thinking to myself, maybe there's some kind of a robot or android or something that's being manipulated from, a distance that were sent into her room. But the thing about it is that every time I would go in this woman's room when those things were present, and it happened 3 times, my electric blood pressure cuff would go dead. My phone would go dead. Because I would go to reach for my cell phone to call somebody to bring me another blood pressure cuff, because even though I had just taken it off the charger and it was fully charged and I had only taken 2 people's blood pressure with it, when I'd go into that room and those things were there, the battery would just drain instantly. So it got to the point, because she had to have cardiac meds and I had to check her blood pressure before I would go into the rooms, I would take a manual blood pressure cuff into her room because it happened those times. And of course, the manual one, there's nothing electric on it, and I was able to get her blood pressure. But the thing is that I walked into her room this one night and she's laying on her side and I'm looking and I'm watching these things move around, and it was like they didn't think I could see them. So I acted like I could, and I walked over, I'm giving her her pill, and she's like, "Is everything all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, is everything okay with you? How are you feeling?" I was the same as usual. And then I walked out, and only did that happen in her room when she was there. We had other patients after she passed that would come into that room, never saw them again. Only her room. The second time that I saw them in there were 5 of them. There were 3 of them the first time, 5 of them the second time, and one was much, much taller than the rest. All of them were identical. The other 4 were identical. The taller one was a good 2 feet taller, but in that same uniform looking thing. But I'm standing on the side of the bed giving her her medicine, and that tall one comes around the bed and walks right through me. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it was the weirdest. My teeth were burning. I mean, and it was quick. It was quick, but it's something that I never want to have to feel again, because it was, I don't even know how to describe it in words. It was hot. It was almost like getting a shock kind of thing, but with fire instead of electricity type thing. I don't know how else, but like I said, I could feel it all in my jaw, my ears, my teeth. And I'm like, oh man, no, we're not doing this. But it happened 4 different times. And this lady could see things too. I remember distinctly one night I was walking down to her room. It had been snowing. I was working midnights and we were all bored. So we were having snowball fights in the hallways. I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning, nobody's there but us. So, and everybody's sleeping. So I was going to her room and I felt something run up on me. And I knew it was a male, but I thought it was one of the male CNAs. So I turned around and I go, boo, thinking that he was right behind me with a snowball because I had hit him with one earlier. And there was nobody there, but I could feel this nervous energy behind me. And I'm like, that doesn't feel too good. And of course, you got to keep in mind, I'm working in a facility for end of life care. So a lot of people have passed in there. So anyway, I go into her room. This time the aliens were not in there, but this thing followed me into her room. And she said to me, who's your friend? I said, what do you mean friend? And she said, the man that's behind you. She says, he's a busy fella. He's a little nervous. And then he walked out of the room. I felt the energy leave. And she says, he just left out of the room. I didn't say, anything that way. She saw him. So she also had the ability, to see things. But I know for fact that she had to have been a hybrid. I know it for fact, just because of having those aliens in the room tending her on multiple occasions, shifting, plugging things and unplugging and doing that sort of thing. And then the fact that she had such exceptionally big eyes. They were beautiful, but I mean, like I said, it's like she was staring all the time, like a big white, like a deer in headlights all the time, So I would bet money that she was a hybrid, but there are more and more of them that are around us now because they're actually taking souls out and inhabiting people's bodies. I mean, look at our last. Well, I won't go there, but anyway. But yeah, a lot of people that are on Earth right now that are in very, very important places. Some of those, I mean, I am going to mention Bill Gates because I think he's a piece of crap, but he's got to be reptilian. I mean, he's dumping mosquitoes on us and ticks on us and all kinds of stuff, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Right.
How can he be? And everybody knows that it's happening.
Right.
These ticks that if they bite you, that you won't eat meat because he wants you to eat those mealworms that chickens eat. Cook those up as a hamburger. But the mosquitoes to inoculate you against your will, if you're not interested in having, the vaccines. Personally, I didn't have any vaccines. You want to know how many times I had COVID?
How many? Zero.
And my daughter, my ex-husband took my daughter and had her vaccinated 3 times, and she had it 3 times and he had it 5 times, and they were both fully vaccinated. I never had it, not once. So I'm kind of proud of that. But yeah, you guys be careful of vaccines and stuff right now too. I'm not telling you not to take them. I'm telling you that I wouldn't take them because you just don't know what's in them. They've got this RSV going around. Now they have a vaccine for it. Well, where the hell did that come from?
Right.
Well, you just hear about the RSV, and now all of a sudden they've got a vaccine like a month later, and it's like, is it okay, to do that? So you always get over body chills. Oh, I was reading somebody's comment there. But,
yeah, the one right above that is a question for you.
Okay.
She says her eyes are like that. Could someone be a hybrid and not know it?
I have that same question. I do. To tell you this, all of us do have some parts of us that are connected galactically. Okay, they've sprinkled their pixie dust on us. I personally am involved with the Arcturians. My man Bill is a Palladian. So we all do have bits and pieces of that in our DNA. As a matter of fact, what is it? Not Family 360. That thing where they swab your mouth. What is it?
Yeah.
His family ancestry.
23andMe.
And 23andMe. there are some people that are claiming that they are using those sites to find people with alien DNA.
Right.
And the government is using it. So people beware,
Mhm. And
beware.
following blood types.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were on Jessica the
Mhm.
Cryptid Hunter show the other day, and I mentioned when we brought this up that I think they're trying to find the true line of Jesus, the bloodline of Jesus. And we got into the subject about finding, who is an alien, as far as Palladians and all the different species of them. They're trying to figure it out and typecast them so they can follow them.
Yeah. Yeah. And destroy some of them, sadly, because I can tell you what, the reptilians are worse than demons.
Right. And
Mhm.
not all aliens that are here on Earth with us are bad. They're in hiding from our government. So that's why they're hiding, not necessarily to hide from us, but from the people who are trying to track them down and destroy them.
That's
And
right.
I was going to say, since we're on this subject, you were talking earlier, the recent alien agenda has opened up to everybody. It's on their mind. They might be researching it. They're opening doors to this. Some of them could be fear mongering them. The spiritual warfare has been crazy on every single person. Attacks on families, friends, animals, you name it.
Yep.
It's a
Animals too, you're
loose
right.
thing. They want to
Mhm.
pull you down no matter what. So that's probably why a lot of people are getting attachments and stuff, because they're opening up a lot of these doors to these aliens, which us Christians are saying are demons, fallen angels, and the reptilians. And don't listen to the government, no matter what they say. It's the opposite. Just don't listen to what they're saying. That's all I gotta say right now.
Well, what I want to add to that is if aliens are demons, demons don't fly around in spaceships and collect DNA on people to mess with bodies and tubes in their planet somewhere.
But governments do.
Yeah, the governments do. So no, I'm sorry. There are. I mean, we've had this conversation before. I mean, with all of the stars in the sky that are created, that have solar systems and their suns with the solar systems around them, it would be ignorant to think that there aren't other beings. However, our GOV is definitely feeding into that and taking advantage of that. And but I can tell you, the reptilians are not. There aren't any of those that are good. The Nordics are wonderful. The Arturians are wonderful. The Palladians are wonderful. The Ebums are also a little bit weird. There are some, as there are good people and bad people, there are good aliens and bad aliens. So, I'm just saying. But
Right.
some of them have mixed in for centuries with us, that it is in our DNA. I mean, we're talk about Heinz 57, no joke. We not only have the bloodline of humans, but we also have some input from aliens, because I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I've always said that, okay, we have this junk file of DNA. They say it's alien to us. Okay, what if it is alien? What if it is alien DNA and that was actually our starter block, our cell that started us, and then they altered it and experimented on it to get us to where we are now. So some of that DNA in that junk file is our history from the humans and from the aliens. And not all of it's activated. There might be a time in the future where there's alien DNA in there that they need to activate later.
absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And the thing is too, is right now with these frequency changes, they're talking about the DNA strands, of which we have the two, that the twisty DNA strands, but we're going on, what is the word that I'm looking for? They're turning on a 12 strand DNA for us with the fifth, going into the fifth dimension and things like that. And it is a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. If people expect to be a little bit more tired, expect to have a headache and to need to lay down take a minute for yourself. Or it's very, very important that you do, if you can't do anything else in that moment, if you can do that special breathing where you breathe in quickly and you let it out slowly. You breathe it in, hold for 5, let it out slowly, then hold it when you have finished exhaling for 5. Then you breathe in quick, and you do that 6 times. It'll totally reset everything, and the frequencies, your body will balance with those frequencies so that it's not as rough. But we're all getting our butts kicked with these frequency changes, but the end will justify the means. Nothing can be as crappy as what we've got going on here now that is being exposed, and it's got to be for the better to go back to more natural ways of doing things, to barter with food, to have more of a respect for animals and some of the other interdimensional beings that are boots on the ground with us that we simply can't see because their frequency is so much higher than ours.
Right.
Fae and elementals, Bigfoot too. Bigfoot, Bob, my precious Bob, was telling me what a gentle soul they really are, and how advanced they are. And it's because of the humans' fear towards them that they mirror that, because they feel it. It's like on steroids, that they mirror whatever behavior it is, but again, to protect themselves, because the humans, they go searching for them. They want to see one, but then when they finally see one, they get scared and want to shoot it. So,
Right.
and so do you really want to see one? Do you really want to see a ghost? Do you really want to see a cryptid? And that's another thing too. All of that stuff is intertwined. And I am so thankful to see that now there are some new, not paracon, but they're called unicons, where you can go and they have paranormal, Bigfoot, UFO, cryptids, elementals, and fae all at the same place. Because for so long, if you were to wear a UFO shirt into a paracon, you get dirty looks.
Right.
People are like, what are you doing here? And the thing is they intertwine. All of those beings use the same portals. They travel the same ley lines. They use the interdimensional veils. All of them do. And they all know each other. You know what I'm saying? And we're the ones that are separating everything. So you can learn so much more if you become more balanced with having an understanding of each one. Your experience. I mean, you will grow so much more and be so much more enriched with that understanding, because there's not just one set thing. And even like we were talking too about the little bits of DNA that have been mixed up that we all have a little bit. We are star seeds. We're that too. We're humans. We're star seeds. We have souls.
Right.
Heaven. My mom told me that heaven literally turns into an airport after you get there. After you've gone through with, like, some people that pass, everybody's got to go through the review, but some people have come here on earth, which is most of us people. And if you're in this room, you're one of them because your light is on. Most of us have volunteered to be here for this time. So there's a difference in the processing when you cross over, when you have volunteered to be here for this time, versus someone who has come here for karma and to learn their lessons. Those people come in, when they pass, they do their life review, they go through schooling, and they re-enter. Those of us who have volunteered, we didn't have to come back here. And I really don't want to have to come back again. But you know what? You get on the other side and you're like, yeah, I'm duty bound. I want to volunteer. You jump right back in. So, but the thing is that when you have volunteered and you come here, you also go through your life review. However, you don't go into that schooling. You go into a debriefing, more so of a debriefing. And then from that point, you're free to go, wherever you want. My mom said that it was kind of like an airport with terminals, where you just, you think about it and you're just gone. Or you can stay there, because there's houses there, similar to kind of like what we have, but the roofs are different. There's really not like a roof on them, and the walls, they're you can walk through the walls, but yet you have your privacy, and the light seems to illuminate from within the walls, and that's how the houses are lit. But and the buildings are huge there. The schools and things are very, very huge there on the other side as well. But you know, there are galactic beings over there. There's all kinds of stuff over there. And we just think that it's just our type of soul that's over there. And there's not. You know, there's other things over there too that you know, and it's important to realize that. So
The Bible says there's creatures around the throne too.
absolutely. And you know, I'm glad that you said that, because even elementals and fae, there was a book in the Bible called Arma, Armagh. And they took it out in the 1400s. It was a book about elementals and fae, and St. Patrick was trying to convert, not really convert, but he was in connection with the elementals and fae in a spiritual way. But of course, anything biblically has to be put in a religious way. But in a spiritual way, he was connected with them, where they were guiding him, he was guiding them. But in 14 something or other, one of the kings decided to take it out, just like the Book of Enoch. You know, there are so many books. I have to laugh because a friend of mine recently, and I love her. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care what your religion is. I try to avoid talking about politics and religion, which here I am just blowing up the internet with it tonight. So, but it, because it divides families and friends. But this lady, she's very, very heavily Christian, and I'm happy for her if that works for her. You know, I'd like to believe that I'm also Christian in that sense, but with add-ons, because to me there's well, like what she said to me, she said she wanted to start a women's Bible study. And I said, are you going to use the book with all of the pages or the ones with missing pages? And she hesitated, and she was like, what? And I said, well, are you going to use the Bible that's missing pages for your women's, you know, Bible group? And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, it's been rewritten hundreds of times. I said, and if you even Google how many books have been taken out, tons of books have been taken out, or it's been made easier to read, which takes a lot of it out. Now, granted, it is kind of hard with the way that we speak now, that we don't have the all wanteth with the TH on the end of everything. It kind of slows things down, you know, so it is a little bit easier to read, but it's somebody else's interpretation of blue. You know, all of us, if I say blue, every single one of us in the room are going to think of a different shade. So it's someone writing it according to their opinion of what that meant, which it gets very, very far. So I told her, I said, why don't you, if you're going to do a Bible study for women, I said, I will attend your Bible study for women if you talk about the books that have been taken out and the pages that have been taken out. Because I've already heard all the rest. I said, but I would really like to learn more about the missing pages.
Right.
And last couple of years, I've been digging into the Apocrypha. There is a lot of good information in those books.
There are a lot of, and not, I love men, don't get me wrong. You know, I'm not of the age of the 70s where men are male chauvinist pigs. I don't. I like chivalry. I love men the way that they are. But the thing is that, you know, there were a lot of very strong women in some of those books that they took out, that they wrote about, very beautiful stories about different women in there, and they need to knock it off. You know, it's not a penis versus a Venus thing, you know. So besides, with what we got, with what Jade and I got, we can get all of those that we want if we wanted to. So, and it's not the other way around, you know. So I don't mean to be vulgar, but I'm just trying to be a little bit funny with that. Not that we would, but I'm just saying, you know, why does it we're shifting into a time right now. That's another thing that Bob had mentioned, that is more feminine instead of masculine. So things are looked at with more emotion, more, it's like with the masculine, you wear your heart on the inside of your body, and then your physical body is around it, and you go more with your head because it's logical. and not that it's not intellectual the other way, but it is more logical. It's more, get her done kind of thing. But now we're shifting into a stage where the body becomes very small and the heart becomes very, very big, because we're dropping into our heart and coming from a heart-based placement. So that's yeah. So those are some updates from him. And as I think of things, he's like right here reminding me of stuff. It's like, oh yeah, oh yeah. So anyway, Bob says hello to everybody, by the way. He did actually, I have to tell you, I have to draw some pictures because I actually got a really good look at him. His face, which has always been kind of, I've seen his silhouette, I've seen his little blocky head, but I didn't realize that, of course, his ears are higher. They kind of go back like this. They're kind of elongated, a little bit. But he also has these little ears in front, like deer ears. So they move like little cups. So it's like a double set of ears. But the ones that go longer are for galactic communication and communication between the higher frequency elementals. And then the other ones are more for hearing also, but at a higher level. But so it almost looks like he's got a double set of ears, and then he's kind of caved in here a little bit with little beady eyes. But yeah, I'm going to have to start drawing some pictures because people sometimes, he doesn't look like the gnome doll with the big nose. He does have a big nose, but it's not like that. It's more like a wave on his face. I would have to draw it because there are no human words to describe it. I've got a kitty coming over here to say hello. You need to get down, buddy. Yeah. You might see a tail. So anyway, but no, I'll have to share that too. But yeah, I'm sorry, I got us off on the beaten path, but I think that they were important messages for people to hear during this time. And
Right.
you all are in agreement as well. I mean, we're all in agreement. We're all on the same page. So you're such a mushy baby. You really are. He's laying here on me trying to get attention. He's a little feral kitty that we saved and my son has taken him. So I'm babysitting my grandkitties while my son actually left today to go to San Diego, which was a huge improvement over this whole past week. And I'm on standby to go get him if he has trouble. But in the meantime, I'm kind of hanging with these babies. So I'm sorry, I kind of went in a different direction than what you had wanted to take, but I think it was important too.
It is.
So
I mean, just like you were saying, I mean, we all talk about this stuff and we all have our own opinions, our own theories, but it's different when you actually start to see it play out and come to fruition.
yes,
I mean, it's like a new frontier. It's like I never thought we'd be where we are today as far as the government, UFOs, aliens, the stuff that we're experiencing, new cryptids coming on and people spotting them and talking about them all over. And like you said, all these different groups, paranormal, UFO, cryptid, all these groups are getting together now and have opened the doors, and they're opening their minds. They're not just set on one or the other.
It's all connected.
It is. And Lori Ladd made a good point about the heart here. I'm reading her comment. They have found that there is 10,000 times more memory, probably even a bigger number than that. That's my number because I can't come up with a big enough one. Memory in the heart than there is in the brain. And, really the brain just creates like images and things like that. Are you laying on my thing? Can you hear him? I'm sorry. He's
all right. Go ahead.
Okay. It's fine.
He's just like rubbing on me. He's a big
friendly.
Good big baby. Baby. Wait, so everybody here, come on up here so everybody can see you. There you are. Show your little face. There you are. Say hi. Okay, go find your sister and go fight with her. There you go.
Well, what you were talking about, though, there is many organs in our body that does have a memory. And there's lots of stories of people having operations was heart implants or part of a liver or part of a kidney. And then all of a sudden they have these new skills. Like this one woman could never have ever painted a picture in her life or anything good. And now all of a sudden she's like a Rembrandt, a Picasso. She's just like this brilliant painter. And the only thing that's changed is that she had an operation and got another piece of somebody else's body part.
Yes, that is so
Mhm.
true. And very interesting, Carol, that you brought that up because I've even experienced, I mean, even if somebody has like a valve replacements, they'll send paperwork home from the hospital with them to let them know that the person's demeanor may change. We had a guy
Mm.
that was actually, he was speaking in a British accent. He had never spoken in a British accent before. There was another patient that we had that absolutely hated this type of food and now couldn't get enough of it.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is so true. That is so true. And so, yeah, I mean, there are so many things that we don't know, so many things that have been hidden from us. It's not
Hmm.
because of lack of intelligence or not being able to handle it. Well, no, I take that back. My ex-husband couldn't handle it because when I mentioned to him the other day, I said, "Hey, did you see on ESPN where they were talking about the Nordics and the reptilians and the who are they talking about? The Greys and the
Insectoids.
yeah, the mantises, I think they
Yeah.
said. And
Mhm.
he said, what news channel? I said, ESPN. He says, no, they did. They had to have been joking. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
you know, yeah, I guess you'll have to wait until one of them sits in your back seat before you believe it. And then you can have a stroke or something, I mean, whatever. But there are some people that are still hardcore not getting it. And a lot of those people will be absorbed in the sense that they will be crossed over and then automatically be rewarded with being at that frequency. But boy, we had to do it the hard way. We're doing it the hard way. So they kind of get the easy thing. For whatever reason, they're blocked from opening up to what they know they came here for.
Yeah.
So,
Wait till he finds out that a lot of these superstars that are famous in sports are actually alien.
yes, no, I'm with you. I'm so with you. It's if you really think about how exciting this time is, really, to be part of this. I mean, we're really, really very lucky to get to be a part of it. And granted, it's kind of rough going through it because the things that we've always known are changing and they're not the same anymore. Speaking
Mhm.
of which, too, another thing I wanted to mention. You need to watch what you're eating as far as food. Cellulose in anything is paper made from tree bark. I couldn't believe how much ice cream has has paper tree bark. Walmart ice cream, let me tell you, there's the smallest amount of what could be considered ice cream in their ice cream in order to be able to put the label on it that it's ice cream and sell it.
Right.
Blue
It's not
bunnies,
ice cream anymore. It's not made out of
it's
cream.
not.
Yeah, it's not
No,
ice
no.
cream.
They have found a way to take paper and break it down and break it down and break it down to the point that they can make it creamy. And then they throw a few pieces of fruit in there and say, here, here's your strawberry ice cream or your pistachio almond because we put some nuts in it. It's
Yep.
all natural. Yeah, all natural paper. People read what you're eating. Also, these if you pick up I I'm a bit of a label snob in that sense because a lot of these stores whose name brands are on these things are made with ingredients that if you really realized what you were eating, you wouldn't, and you would buy the higher, a little bit more expensive because it's better. Or you'll just grow your own, which is 1,000 times even better. But
Right.
which
Yeah,
is
but they're
another
spraying
thing.
so much, you got poison all
Yes,
over your garden.
yes. And also, have you noticed lately that like we at Bill's house, he's got peach trees, plum trees, pear trees, apple trees, orange trees, and they're not producing. They're hardly anything. The flowers will come and they'll fall off. You know,
Mhm.
3 years ago, we had so much that we had to give it away or to freeze it or to, prepare it so that it could last a little bit longer. Hardly anything, like maybe 3 pears on one tree and, a couple of oranges on the other. And it's like, what is going on? Because it's not just one tree, it's all of them. So they've got to be spraying something on them to not let them, produce as
It's
Yep.
much
also
food or
the
fruit.
sun. The sun is too hot. this time of year should be a lot cooler for strawberries to grow and the other fruit to grow. But if it's scorching hot sun and these hot temperatures that usually is at the end of summer, the fruit's not producing. So I've noticed that my rhubarb was not that big this year. A lot of things are being affected.
Well, eventually we'll be growing fruit and vegetables that is from down south will be up in the Midwest eventually.
I hear that. Hey, Andrew, my favorite is pistachio almond too. So anyway, I just noticed that. No, I agree with that. I mean, I had a guy come on my show named Brad Olson, and he was on Ancient Aliens, and he wrote a book about going to Antarctica, where he saw with his own eyes what he wrote about the tunnels that go deep into the earth, for that matter. Of course, you're not allowed to pass through certain points of that. And a lot of the stuff that he saw with his own eyes of the pyramids peaking and some of this alien life that is even there, we all may end up living on Antarctica, I'm just saying, I mean, everything is changing here. Speaking of too, is I live in South Carolina, and normally we would have maybe one earthquake every 2 years. Before I left, we had 18 the day before. I have a picture showing all of the red dots. 18
Wow.
in one day. The following day, we had 15 more. And again, I took pictures of it because I couldn't believe it. I was sending it to friends. I'm like, what on earth is going on? And dot, 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 dot. And these lines of these earthquakes that are constantly happening. And then Bill calls me, says, I think we just had an earthquake. I was sleeping and the whole house started shaking. And sure enough, he had one. And some of these are like 4.5. They're not small. I mean, they're not huge either, but they're not small. So, the earth is shifting and she's repositioning herself a little bit, and you just never know. I mean, any minute that volcanoes and stuff could go off over near California, and California could go bye-bye,
Right.
And Colorado could be the new oceanfront property because it's supposed to take most of New Mexico too. So yeah,
Well, did you hear Area 51 had tons of earthquakes one day a few weeks ago? It's like, what's going on there? I think they're destroying tunnels and evidence. Maybe in your area too.
Wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. Yeah, as a matter of fact, thinking about it, some of those lines were right past some of the bases that we have, some of the Army bases and stuff like that. So I mean,
not always earthquakes.
Who knows? No, yeah, definitely not always earthquakes.
Right.
But yeah, we're coming into an interesting time. I mean, I am a prepper in the sense that not because out of fear, but because I want to make sure that I have enough for other people who didn't prepare,
Right.
Just to help get us all through until we can get gardens going and things like that. But I am ready. I am so ready. It's like I am ready for whatever's supposed to happen, good or bad. Give me my orders because I am ready. I do. I'm like, I am boots on the ground for whatever way you need to use me to be of assistance. And I will definitely, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, that just happened. I'm going to be patching people up one after the other,
And have no fear of death. We don't, this body dies. We don't die. Have no fear of death. Whatever happens, happens. Bring it. I'd rather be on the other side than what's going on in this world right now anyway.
Absolutely.
Well, don't be surprised in the future, though, if you do die, that you'll be reincarnated or regenerated back into the same purpose of what you were just doing.
And that can happen too. Absolutely. Yeah, I said the same. No, I said the same thing too, Jane. I'm like, I am not coming back. But you know what? Once we get there and things are so wonderful and nice, we'll probably eventually want to jump in with our big hearts and help out again. So, but Earth is not going to reincarnate. Earth would reincarnate the people like us who have volunteered to come here. I mean, they would allow us back on this Earth because the frequency is going to be so high that it's not going to be able to house the third dimension and the chaos. They'll be sent somewhere else. So, yeah, So you're right. You're right, Carol.
I was thinking more of the lines of like Groundhog Day. When you die, you start right over and continue on your learning or your mission, whatever they got you on, or like the or uh, Tom Cruise movie where he was in the military fighting, and every time he died, he got right back to the beginning and had to start back over to get to his end object of what his mission was. So that's what I was saying. If you die during a mission, you're going to be, don't be surprised you wake up and you're right back into that same mission, having to complete it.
Kind of like a video game.
Yep.
Yeah, with extra lives. So yeah, I don't know, but something's got to give. And like Jane said, we don't die. Like you had also said too. I mean, our souls are intact. It's our bodies that have to give up because they're just worn out. So it's just the way that it is, and people are so afraid of death and dying, but really we don't die. Our souls are intact and perfect, even if there's mental illness and things like that. People with Alzheimer's that cross over, their souls are still perfect and intact. They don't have Alzheimer's on their soul. They're good to go. It's just their body that was kind of screwy.
And everyone has their own beliefs, which is fine. Nobody's going to attack anyone on their beliefs in our chat. But my belief is, being a Christian, when you pass, you're not stuck in that recycle loop. You're going to heaven. Now, like you said, some people may choose to come back. But if you don't believe in the Lord, in my opinion, yeah, you're stuck in the matrix and you could be recycled until you finally find the way, truth, and the life to get out of it.
All of it, I agree. I personally believe in God. Source or whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. I personally do. So that's my word for who I believe in. But there are so many wonderful things when we pass that are on the other side that we just can't even imagine it. And it's such a relief, from being here. And that's another thing too. I had somebody recently ask me on one of my shows to ask Bob this question. She had an abortion. And she asked if she was going to go through some kind of hell or whatever because of the abortion. And his comment back was, "You didn't murder the soul."
Right.
And I never thought about it that way. So and people say, well, how can these things happen where people are murdering one another and stuff like that? They're not murdering their soul. It's awful that their body is being taken away from them, but you don't know if that's a reptilian, taking down another reptilian, or maybe a reptilian, doing something else or meeting somebody's karma because maybe that person killed them before. You don't understand all of these things, but at face value, it looks terrible in that moment. And to me, I'm sorry, my eyeball, but to me, I was surprised that he said that, because I'm like, well, what happens, people if they've had an abortion. Not that I'm recommending, ladies, that you go out and get abortion. There are little pills, little pinky greeny pills that you can take to make sure that doesn't happen. Be responsible, because a life is a life still. But, and sometimes those souls will come back into bodies and come at a later time type thing. So it's not that they died, but don't use abortion for birth control. If you're not on birth control and you have don't have sex. Just don't do it. Be by yourself. Do something else. But you need to be responsible if you are, because you have to understand that your body is a vessel that can create and house, little young ones that may need to come in for special purposes that are important.
Right.
So, but I just thought that was interesting that he said that. So, yeah, and I never thought of it that way before, because to me, I'm like, I didn't know how to answer it when the person asked. I'm like, well, I know a suicide, you don't go to hell, but it's frowned on. It's not something that they want you to do. You have multiple stages in your life that you have opportunities to exit if you choose them, that are specifically put into place before you came here. But suicide's not one of them, because of the vacuum and the rippling effect that it not only creates on Earth, but also in the upper realms, because you've got children waiting to come, and maybe that we're going to cure cancer, of which we already have a cure for. They're just hiding it because they want to keep us sick and make money. But or they might be coming in for some other reason, to be the King of England or the President of the United States. They may have some special thing that they're coming in for. And those beings don't get to come in through you anymore if you cut your contract short. So it does not only have a rippling vacuuming type of effect here, it continues throughout the dimensions on the
Right.
other side. And that's why it is so badly frowned upon. But you aren't sent to hell. You're usually schooled and put right back through, sometimes in a situation that's even worse than the one you came out of. So fair warning, very well, because you will come back in and redo that. So I'm just letting y'all know that. But so to clear some people's minds, not that, I mean, if you've already done something, you can't go and take it back, but just so that you know that you're, that is how it's looked at. But that doesn't mean to go do it again. So if that makes sense, even what I'm saying. But yeah.
I think everybody knows.
Okay. I'm babbling a little bit, but my book that just came out, Becca Drive, is a experience that I had. I was needing to vacate a townhouse. I had gone through my divorce. I had found housing that my ex-husband interfered with by sending the landlord a letter stating that some things about me that weren't true, so they wouldn't renew my lease even though I had paid my rent in advance. So I had to find a quick place to move to and in my price range. And so I didn't have a lot of time to look. My son at that point was going to move out on his own, so I only needed to have a 2-bedroom place and downsize. So I was doing a virtual tour, which if you're an empath, don't do a virtual tour. You need to go and feel it, because I made the mistake of doing a virtual tour and then made the appointment to meet with the manager to sign the lease, because I'm like, oh, well, this looks wonderful inside. And I just, I drove through the neighborhood and it was on a dead end street and had a nice backyard and, all of this kind of stuff. And it was a unit of 10 townhouses side by side, 2-story townhouses. So when I got there to do the walkthrough, the lady met me there with the key, and I quickly walked through, and I'm like, oh, I love the French doors on the back. I can let my dog out there. But yet I was picking up a little bit of something, but I was pressured for time because I was needing to move out of the other place that I was, needing to leave and have the cleaners come in and clean and get this other place ready for me to move into. And I noticed that the townhouse still needed the kitchen cleaned, the floors mopped, the bathrooms cleaned and stuff like that. And I made mention to her. I said, listen, I said, when will this be move-in ready? And she told me that it would be move-in ready like in 3 days from that point. And I said, okay. I said, so I went ahead and I even said to her at the time, I said, well, what happens if this place turns out to be haunted? And she looked at me, and she looked at me funny. And I explained to her what I had gone through previously with that house that I had purchased. And she said, oh, well, I'm sure that we would work with you on the lease if this place were, haunted. But of course, she was kind of chuckling under her breath a little bit, which we all know isn't funny business, because you definitely don't want to have a situation like that in your house if you got bad ones. So I went ahead and I signed, and I went to pick up the keys 3 days later, and I went into the townhouse, and I brought a load of stuff in my vehicle and went into the townhouse. And when I walked in and I had boxes with my dishes in them, I went into the kitchen to start putting shelf liner down and putting my dishes away. And I noticed that there was roach poop in the cabinets that hadn't been cleaned out, which was gross, and to let them know that they needed to have extermination. And then I noticed that the oven was filthy on the inside. The refrigerator had a broken handle and was filthy on the inside, and it hadn't been cleaned in the bathrooms either. And this is the building. The apartment is right there. As a matter of fact, and again, this is the this is the picture that Gerald used to do the cover for me. So I called the management and I said, listen, I'm here to start moving in. I picked up the keys today, but this house hasn't been cleaned. I said, the toilet still has congealed pee in front of it on the floor where your people putting in carpet must have used the bathroom and the guy didn't hold himself well enough to aim right. So, I need somebody to come and finish cleaning. And so she said that they would send somebody the next day. And I said, because I can't move in here unless you have this clean. And you said that it was move-in ready. So I wait until the time that they say that somebody's going to be there cleaning it. In the afternoon, I go over. It's supposed to be clean. I walk in, same thing. Nothing's clean. At that time, one of the ladies from the office was coming over to take the key lockbox off. And so I invited her in and I said, listen, I've already called about this. I want you to see it. She's, oh, clearly this is not clean. We will have someone come and clean this, tomorrow or whatever it was. We'll get in touch with somebody tomorrow. We'll let you know. So when I called the office the next day to ask when they were sending somebody, the lady actually had the nerve to say to me, well, why don't you clean it yourself?
Wow.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm not cleaning up some other man's pee off the floor. I won't even let my daughter sit on that toilet. We can't take showers here. Nothing has been cleaned. I can't put my food away. I can't put my dishes away. I said, why? I said, if you think that it's okay for me to clean it, why don't you come over and clean it? And so she said, well, I'm going to give you the telephone number of the lady and you can make arrangements with her to come over and clean it. And I'm leading up to something here. So the very next day, I'm driving my van over with another load and I get a call from the cleaning lady. And lo and behold, she says to me, I know you're going to think this is crazy, but please, please do not move into that townhouse. And I'm like, what do you mean? Earlier that day, I was there trying to put things away in the closet because I couldn't put anything away in the bathroom. It was dirty. I couldn't put anything away in the kitchen. It was dirty, but at least I could vacuum out the closet and hang up my clothes. And I wiped out the closet and to hang up my clothes. When I was in the house, out of my peripheral vision in the doorway, I see this little young girl. It was a ghost of a girl. And she had on like this white linen looking dress with a pinafore. She had on those little shoes with the buttons that were down, the little boots with the little buttons.
Right.
Brown long hair, about waist length. She had it pulled back at the sides with a big bow in back. Looked to be about maybe 7 or 8 years old. Pretty little girl. And I said to her, I said, hi. I said, what's your name? Because I noticed she was watching me put away my clothes and my shoes. And all of a sudden she looks over her shoulder and she runs off into one of the other rooms. And I said, oh, we got a little girl in the house. I'll help her cross over, type thing. So I'm going back to the phone call. So when the phone call came through and the lady said to me, please don't move there. I said, oh, is it the little girl? And she said, yes, there is a little girl there, but it's not the little girl that's the problem. It's the slender man with black eyes that mumbles, that likes to hang out in that bathroom. She said, I am so sorry that I did not finish cleaning your house, but I was cleaning the toilet in that room and he was screaming at me to get out. And when I looked up and saw the black eyes, it scared me so bad. I don't ever want to have to go back in there. She said, can we work something out? I said, well, I went ahead and I called a cleaning lady that was cleaning that was going to be cleaning the place that I was moving out of, and asked her if she could clean so that I could move in. And she said, well, I will pay for it. I will meet you at your house. I will reimburse you whatever you have to pay, but I do not want to go back in that house. And of course, I'm pulling over at this point because I feel sick. And then she says, again, please, please, please don't move in to that house. She said, that whole building is haunted. She said, but your apartment and the one next door to it, number 3 and 4, are the worst. She says, it's like you have a portal in the corner over by the French glass doors, the French doors leading to the outside. And I'm like, you've got to be joking me. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, who has that happen more than once in a lifetime? I grew up in
Right.
I grew up in a haunted house. They were relatively harmless. They got a little weird as we all got older. My dad started drinking heavier and doing weird things, but they were all about him. Then getting this house as a single woman, as a mother that I never moved into, and now this happening again, and people are like, Lynn, how could you have that happen a second time, to go in there? Why didn't you go in with your sensory on? And I said, listen, I viewed it online. I did a virtual tour, and I literally spent 10 minutes in the house, not long enough to, do anything. But the funny thing is when I was over there that day, when I first got the keys, where I noticed that the kitchen was still nasty, I kept hearing mumbling. And I thought that because the kitchen window was just off the parking lot. The parking lot was there, then there was a cement walkway and a little bit of bushes, and then the window was right there to the kitchen. I thought that it was somebody trying to talk low in the parking lot. And when the lady mentioned the slender, tall, the dark-haired man with the dark eyes, that he mumbles, I put two and two together, that the mumbling that I was hearing was probably that spirit when I was putting stuff, trying to put boxes in there. So anyway, we went back and forth, and I just sat there. I was just sick. My body went numb in that moment, like I was paralyzed. I couldn't believe it. I told her, I said, listen, I have signed a lease that I'm in there for a year. So I actually had to live in it for a year. The good thing that came from it, and I'll go into it a little bit more, but the good thing that came out of it was a couple of things. Number one, I learned how to barricade a house, because so many people live in houses that either have people upstairs or downstairs or side by side, like in apartments or townhouses. And when you go into a house like that is haunted and you go to clear it, the spirits just step next door, la 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 la, wait for you to finish, and then they come right back with a vengeance. They cross through the walls. It's like useless. You try to get them out, because they'll go, visit somebody else's house while you're,
Right.
clearing everything. So I learned how to create a energetic force field, literally and I'll share it with you, with you take a bowl of sea salt, pink Himalayan salt, and a stone, and you just embed it in the middle, and you put it in the far corners, all four corners of your living space of your house, and it energetically like makes this force field. And you do it upstairs and downstairs if you have an upstairs also, because it only reaches like so high, and then you've got the energetic of that. But you need to make sure that you have everything out before you put up that force field, or else you're blocking them inside with you. So,
Oh.
so many people, when they have issues, they'll Google it and they'll say, oh yeah, I stood in the middle of the room with my sage and I twirled round and round, chanting or doing whatever. And I'm like, you did what? I'm like, no, you need to go to your front door and you need to start. First of all, you put ammonia down your toilet and all of your drains to block any spirits from going into those things, because they will hide in your drains. Then you got to crack something open so the spirits can leave, so you see your door vibrate or your window, you'll hear the screen jiggle. And I'm like, yeah. And then you open all of your cabinets so that when you do go through to smudge, the smoke gets in everywhere, because they can hide in a little teeny tiny corner. You open your closets, you open every cabinet in your house, you open your dishwasher, your dryer, your washing machine, anything that could create a space that they could hide in, you open all of it. Then you start at the left of your door with your sage, and you go follow the walls, in and out of rooms, up the stairs, in and out of rooms, back down the stairs, until you end up back at the right side of that door. I said, if you've got really, really bad infestation, you take a cross or some kind of and I'm what is it? I'm spoil alerting on this, because I think it's important for people, because it's so rampant right now. I'm willing to help people. I'm willing to give this part up. You also, you can take a spiritual, like a cross or Archangel Michael or Mother Mary, and you dip it in holy water, and you go to every surface, like in your doors and your cabinets and stuff like that. Like if you open a cabinet, it's got 3 shelves, you take it and you touch the ceiling, each side, the shelf. Then you go to the next shelf, Do it all 4 around in the
Right.
back. And you keep dipping it in between. No evil lives here. No evil lives here. You make sure that that touches every surface under your sink, the base and any shelves, top, bottom, and any part that there's a surface, even the little line where the shelf is, and you've got that much before the next shelf. You touch everything. So, and if that doesn't work, then you call me and you've got to do it with a fire component. But people don't realize that the spirits can hide places. They don't realize that they should take ammonia and dump just a spritz into even their dishwasher drain. I mean, wherever you can, your washing machine, throw a little bit in there, so that there are places that they can't go and hide, because they will do that. And when they come back, they're pissed off. You've got to make sure that you cover it. But yeah, don't just go in your house and spin with sage and, oh, gee, I saged my house. I did it according to Google. Good luck with that. And then the whole time you're scared if you hear the door rattle or something, and then your loosh is feeding them so they can stay in the room even while you're saging. Then you're under attack while you're saging.
Right. What about mirrors?
Oh, mirrors. Okay, there are mirrors. Some of them are portals, some of them are not, and I will tell you exactly how to tell the difference. If you walk up to a mirror and you take your finger, and it looks like this in the reflection, that is a mirror. If you go up to a mirror and you touch it and it looks like that in the reflection, that is a portal.
It's usually the older mirrors.
Yes. Yeah, I just found where Bill had a portal in his bathroom mirror, and I'm like, whoa. I mean, you could touch that mirror and it looked like my fingers were like this, not like this. So if you do purchase a new mirror for your home, first of all, keep it out of your bedroom. It destroys your sex life. So, man, make sure that you do your feng shui with your headboard on a solid wall on the southwest side of the room. Try to avoid having it up against a wall where there's a bathroom or drains or anything that go through. No windows on a blank wall. But I forgot what I was saying. I kind of got off on a tangent with that. So make sure that your feng shui is good for that. But if you are going to buy a mirror, you can check it with that finger check thing. And
Right.
do not buy it if there's that gap. Do not buy it, because you may be having some visitations unless you want them, unless you want them. So some of these people that have recently bought haunted houses on purpose to do tours and stuff, they need to go around and collect all the mirrors that are portals and put them all over those houses, because they want that kind of thing there.
Right. Is there a way to block that mirror from having stuff come in and out if you do have one of the old portal mirrors?
You know what? I don't know. I would personally, I don't know. What I would do if it were me, for one thing, if you have a mirror in your bedroom, you need to cover it. Only because if it, with the angle of the mirror, if it exposes the bed at all, like if it's paralleling the bed and then you've got that big dresser on the female's dresser, they always come with those big mirrors.
Right.
Take it off. But if you can't take it off, cover it with something. But if in that reflection, if you can see your bed at all, it's not in a good placement. You need to move it. So you can have a mirror in the room if it's put in a placement that is not reflecting the bed at all. So just to let you know, but it's just better. It's easier to just not have mirrors in there at all. So so people, get those mirrors off your ceilings. So
All right.
anybody, in your trapeze or whatever else you've got in there, I won't judge. So anyway, but all of those things are important, especially now that we're understanding how the energy moves and energy plays with things, and everything is energetic. Even this cup of tea that I'm drinking, the water in it, love, 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 love. If they were to check the molecular water in this, it would change just by simply love, 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 putting that in there, or putting it next to AC/DC music, what? And then all of a sudden, if you look at it, it scatters, and that is scientifically proven. So, everything, we're moving into that understanding of energy better, of placement of things better, talking to your plants. Yes, that they hear you. The trees hear you. Everything hears you. and people don't forget your guardian angels half the time. And I say this, of course, they're not on a cigarette break, but they are on a break. It's like a cigarette break because people don't realize that they need to verbally out loud ask for assistance when they need it, and to be specific about it. You don't just say, I want a hamburger. Well, you might get a hamburger with cheese and pickles and you hate cheese and pickles. So you need to be clear. I want a hamburger with no cheese and pickles. Well, then you might get it with raw meat. Well, you need to be clear. Yes, you need to be that detailed. So, people just have to be aware and be more careful. But back to my book thing. Finally, I had that other lady clean the house, and I started to move in. And lo and behold, Weenie Man. Did I send you pictures? I've shown you pictures of Weenie Man.
Yeah, we've had that on previous
Yeah.
shows. Yeah.
He was the ghost that was in. He was one of the ghosts in that house. I've never seen a ghost show up naked before until I've seen him. Because, like I always like to make the joke, and it's not a joke, because when your loved ones come in to help you transition over, they have clothes on. I don't think anybody wants to see their mother come and help them cross over naked. It would just be too weird. It would be like, Mom, go put something on. It's like, ew, no, please. Don't scar me before I'm crossing over. But he was going from townhouse to townhouse, pulling down women's underwear in the middle of the night, crawling in bed with him, but he was also groping dudes' genitals. So he was just an all-around pervert. And I have a picture of him that I took with my own camera. And I hate the word pareidolia. I got news for you people. I saw it with my own eyes. I took the picture. Do you have the one that's also outlined so people know where to look?
Yeah.
Okay. So I did that. I did outline it in one so that you all know where to look. He's got his hands over his Johnson, so it's G-rated. Go figure. This guy's over trying to crawl in bed with women, and he's swinging all day long with his privates out, and then he gets a chance to have his time at a centerfold, and he wants to cover his Johnson and be all bashful. But anyway, all right, so this is where you look in the next picture, and you can see him clearly.
Yep, you can see it. You can see it.
Yep, you can see it. So this guy, so my very first night sleeping there, I hear tap, 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 tap on my nightstand. At first I thought maybe it was condensation on outside on the window. So I got up and I looked to see if anything was dripping, and there was nothing dripping. So I laid back down. The tapping starts again. All of a sudden, my daughter comes out of her bedroom and says, Mommy, can I crawl in bed with you? She says, something in my closet keeps turning my toys on and off. So the little girl spirit was playing with her toys, and that was fine. But the pervert was standing next to my bed, tapping my finger. And of course, I went into mommy protection mode because I wanted her close to me to make sure that he wasn't, crawling in bed with her. You know what I'm saying? So that happened. So I called Bill and I said, listen, we need to clear this apartment because there are things here. The maid told me about it. Oh, speaking of which too, I did call the management company and I said, this apartment's haunted, right? And she's like, haunted? And I said, yes. As a matter of fact, the maid told me that she told you all about this place. So this isn't the first time that you've heard it. I actually have a picture of the ghost that I will send to you. I said, but I was told by the woman that I originally signed the lease with that if this house was haunted, that you would release me from the lease and let me move out. And she said, well, that woman doesn't work here anymore. So I don't know if they fired her that day for telling me after the fact or what, but so they didn't have to honor that. So I was stuck there. But like I said, I found a way to be able to live there by blocking the walls. But of course, the activity got much worse than the other houses. The thing that I noticed too about the house is it had an odor to it that smelled like decay in body, like death. And I thought maybe it was the adhesive because they'd put down this faux wooden flooring stuff. Maybe it was the glue, that smelled bad. Come to find out, the people in number one, their house cat got out, was wandering and had never been outside before. They were walking through the yards looking for the cat. And I stepped out and they told me, they said, listen, this is a picture of our cat. We have to go to work. We've left out food for it. Please, if you see it, pick it up, bring it inside, and we'll get it from you when we get home. And so didn't see the cat. The cat disappeared for like 3 days. So they went and they opened up the crawl space underneath the apartment building and told me that there were dead cat carcasses underneath the building.
Oh.
That's yes, were feral cats that were getting under there, or people's cats that were getting under there and couldn't get out. So I'm like, that's what that smell was coming up through the vents, was the decaying bodies of the cat carcasses. So of course that's a health violation. I called the management company and complained about that too. I said, you got dead cat carcasses under here. I think that's a health violation. And lo and behold, within a week, the rent was due again. I paid my rent only to find out that there was now a new management company, not the one that I had just paid. They had changed that fast. Literally in 6 months' time, they had probably 6 total in the year that I lived there, but 4 different leasing companies handling that property. They kept changing hands so much. So anyway, so the good thing that came out of it is that I was able to do that. I was also to bring awareness to people. There was one point that there were several of us that in the end of the book where we sat out with our camping chairs out in the paved area of the parking lot, and we're talking about our experiences. I had the lady that was living next door to me. They would hold a church service in their living room. And I thought, oh, well, this is great. This works for me, because you'd hear them singing and they'd get into it and they were going at it and the walls would shake and, things would rattle on the walls because, they were really getting into it, which was fine. The walls were paper thin, but I figured, wow, any spirit here would be able to stand that, so that would protect me, but it didn't. It didn't protect them either. She was telling me, the daughter was telling me that one night her mom and her dad were upstairs laying in bed, and the mom thinks that it's the dad rolling over, groping her, no kidding, groping her. And of course she was kind of liking it and getting into the mood. And so finally she's rolling over to her husband to get jiggy, and he was sound asleep.
Oh.
And so she hit him and she said, what do you mean? Getting me all riled up here like you want something to happen, and now you've rolled over and gone to sleep. And he told her, he said, what are you talking about? He says, I've been sleeping the whole time. Well, that ghost had crawled in bed and was groping her, but they didn't know it. And she's like, well, yeah, she's like, no, you were, touching me here and touching me there. You were pulling down my underwear and da-da-da-da-da. And he said, I swear, I didn't touch you. And they fought about it. For days they fought about it because she insisted that he did, and he was insisting that he did not. And of course, then you go into the thing of, oh, well, didn't you want me? Type thing, which is, what women tend to derail and do sometimes. But that was something that was discussed when those people moved out, because they were talking about how the management company changed so many times that you couldn't keep up with who to pay your rent to, and that they weren't fixing things, which I found out was true too, that they weren't, fixing things. Obviously, they didn't even clean the place that I moved into. And I trusted. I'm like, it's supposed to be move-in ready. I've paid my rent. I've done my part, my first, last security, the deposits for the dogs, and everything. And,
Right.
But anyway, so there was one night that I was laying in bed. My daughter my son had then had his plans fall through. He was sleeping on the couch. I was sleeping in the bed. My daughter was in bed with me. And all of a sudden I'm laying on my side and I feel my covers just slowly being pulled down. And I was awake, but I was pretending to sleep. And I'm thinking, let's just see how far this goes. covers came down, came down, came down, probably about mid-thigh. Then all of a sudden I feel my bottom's being tugged on kind of over one hip. So I reached down, I grabbed my pajama, my underwear and pulled him back up real quick, like jerked him back up and then jerked the covers back up. I lay there. All of a sudden, again, about 10 minutes passed, the spirit thinks I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden, again, I feel those covers slowly being pulled down, and then them going for my underwear again. And I sat up and I said, you need to get that. Right now, I said, listen, I am not afraid of you. And if you have no business here this weekend, my man is coming, and we are going to make sure that you either choose to go play in somebody else's apartment and never come back, or we're going to make sure that you're gone and that you don't come back. So but then all of a sudden my son comes up and he says, can I sleep on the floor in your room? There's something that keeps fluffing my hair down on the couch. Or can I go sleep in Ashley's room? And I said, well, go ahead, go sleep in Ashley's room because she's sleeping in here with me. And again, 20 minutes later, can I sleep on the floor in your room? Because they were fluffing, because the toys were turning on and off and fluffing his hair in that room too. So it wasn't just me. It turns out that out of the 10 units, 7 of them had stories to tell. When the ladies that had the cat that had gotten out, I was mentioning to them, I said, listen, I know this sounds crazy, but it's not to me because I'm weird anyway, but is your place haunted? Have you had any issues with a ghost? The one girl looks at the other and says, see, I told you. And the girl's like, what do you mean? And I said, no, we've had some ghost activity in my house, tapping next to the bed. And the other girl was like, I told you. She said, we've had our cabinets opening and closing during the night, our water's being turned on and off during the night. We've been getting in arguments, with that, type thing. She said, even with our cat, type thing, nobody remembers opening the door to let it out, type thing. So that was a confirmation, but those people were moving in a month. Their lease was up and they were actually actively packing to move, but they were also the ones that found the dead cat carcasses underneath. So then there was a guy that lived in number 2, and he had a little girl and a beautiful wife, and they ended up moving in, and shortly after they split up, because that was another thing that this spirit would do, is that they would mess with people's marriages, like that lady and her husband. She's flogging him with a pillow. How dare you wake me up and get me all ready, and then you roll over and go to sleep, which he didn't do. But they started fighting really, really badly after they moved into the house, and the wife ended up moving out. And then the little girl would come to him and say things about her toys being played with spirits and things like that. And she didn't want to sleep in her room either. So, and he was all like, really, really? But he actually came out with the group that was sitting in the circle out on the paved area of the parking lot, and started to listen to the stories. And he says, when you first approached me and told me that, he said, I thought you were a little bit of a whack job. He says, but now I'm hearing all of this. And he says, I'm not staying here either. He says, I'm supposed to renew my lease in 3 months. I'm out of here. And I said, you know what? If you had not moved here, you might still be married to your wife, type thing. And lo and behold, after he moved out, because he had bought a wagon from me for his daughter. And after he had moved out, I had lost touch with him, and all of a sudden I get a text out of the blue. Hey, I never paid you for that wagon. Where can we meet up? And he was then actively dating his wife. They were getting back together. So I was so thrilled for him that house created that. Negativity can do that. I had another lady where it was, like 1 o'clock. It was in the wee hours of the morning, and my dog was whining to go out. So I let her out the back, and there's this lady, like four apartment, because they had patios that they shared. 2 would share 1 patio. So it was 2 patios over from mine. And she's outside on the phone, and she's talking real low. And all of a sudden she looks over and she says, my neighbor's outside, but I'm going to be on my way. and she seemed upset. And I said, is everything, she got off the phone. I asked her, I said, is everything okay? She says, yeah. And I said, and she kind of came over towards my house and she says, would you do me a favor? She said, I have to go in my house and get my purse and my keys. Would you mind coming over and just standing outside of the door? My boyfriend's not here. He's away for a week working, and I'm here by myself. And I said to her, I said, is everything okay in there? And she said, well, I'm going to go stay at my parents' house. I said, are you having ghost activity in your house? And she busted out in tears and she said, yes. She says, and she started to tell me how the thing had tried to crawl into bed with her. That poor lady, she didn't return until her boyfriend returned. And lo and behold, the night after he returned, I get a knock on the door. It's her boyfriend, and there she is, standing frantically, wrapped in a towel with shampoo still in her hair. They had come over and she said, we need you to come right now. We need you. She said, there's activity in my house. Can you come and help? That poor lady, I mean, she came out butt naked with her towel on and her shampoo in her hair. She was that scared and sent the boyfriend over to get me. So now I'm the lady passing out dragon's blood sage sticks, sticks, incense sticks for people whenever they would come, and have them, try to at least do something to lessen the energy coming through. Had one lady that I overhear talking on her phone, and I hear that she had reached out to a psychic, and the psychic told her about the ghost that was crawling in bed with her during the night, having sex with her. And I'm like, what? So of course I waited for her phone conversation, and I'm speeding ahead because a lot of other stuff happened. I go over to her car, her windows, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to eavesdrop, but I've had ghost activity in my house. I have a picture of the ghost. I said, several other people are complaining of having ghost activity in their house as well. I said, I overheard that you were talking to somebody that had informed you about. She says, yes. She says, I have woken up multiple times with my underpants down around my ankles. She said, and the way that my body was, it appeared as if something had actually had sex with me. That there was stuff on the sheets. Now, come to find out that this lady was an escort, and she was doing phone sex in her apartment, which of course made everything worse. And all of the spirits loved her house. Eventually, she was kicked out of the building because of some of her activities. But to overhear her saying that as well, that was number 7. And then there was a lady at the end on number 10 too that was having the tapping, and the lady at number 10. When I went over, finally, I'm like, I'm going to go knocking on doors and start asking everybody. I don't care. And I noticed that it was a lady that was living there alone. But when I went to her door, on her doormat, she had a salt cross, which is a dead giveaway. You go to somebody's front door and you see residual of salt poured across it. That more's home than mama. So it's not just the dog and the cat in there. So, but she had a salt cross in front of her door, and that of course opened up the conversation. And so she was one of those people. When all of us sat out in the circle, we started talking about some of the things that had been happening. In that book too, during that time, I had a psycho incident with a psycho lady that was doing odd things, but that's a whole nother story. I won't start that because we're going to be finishing up here in about 15 minutes. Where did the time go?
I know.
I've had a great time, and I'm sitting here talking on and on. I'm sorry.
It's flown by.
Yeah, it has. Well, is there anything that you want to talk about? Because I guess I've kind of talked a lot on the show. I hope I don't mean to be the kind of guest that you don't get an edge with in sideways, but
that's the best kind of guest. We just sit here and listen and have fun. And
so, but I mean, I have a lot of things to share, and but yeah, that book has come out on Amazon. The cover is not Geralt's cover yet. It is on the ebook. So I have somebody working with me as soon as I get back from Arizona to get that correct picture in there that was designed by Gerald for that one. And then on top of that, the known place like home will also be listed in there. I have to fly home this weekend because I have an event. I'll be a speaker at, it's called a Strange Things Paracon. It will be in Shelby, South Carolina. If anybody is in that area, you want to come out and see me in person, I'd love to give you a hug. So please, feel free, or if you want to come out and get a book and I can sign it or things like that, please definitely do pop out. I'll be there Friday and Saturday. I'll be doing speaking engagement on Saturday there. So, and there's a lot of big names out there as well. There's some people on TV that are coming, radio stations, people. We've got Miranda, the lady that beautiful dark-haired lady that's on the motorcycle, and she's got her pot. She will be there. And just a lot of people out there that you might want to just come and hang with for a little while. There's food trucks, there is a band out there. It's a pretty big event that's going on, so I will be there. As we had mentioned in the beginning, I am still streaming on Gaia. So my show on Beyond Belief with George Norrie is still streaming on Gaia. If anybody wants to see that, you will have to buy a subscription at this point. But if you have a Coast to Coast subscription, I am in the archives. You can definitely find me. Also, so some of the work that I've done on Coast to Coast as well. My show on Ground Zero Plus is, again, Sunday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then it plays again, reruns on Tuesday and Thursday of the same guest. So if you miss a guest that you wanted to hear on that Sunday, you also have the opportunity on Tuesday and Thursday. However, there is no link. It's kind of like a Coast to Coast thing where you have to catch it while it's playing. So you have to go in and click on, there's a ribbon that says the Lynn Monèt Show. There's an arrow in front of it. Click the arrow in front of it. Please follow my Lynn Monèt Facebook page, because all of the advertising is posted on there, as well as my Instagram on there. I'm trying to work it so that I can also get them on my website, but I'm trying to get my book covers fixed and things first. That's a priority, and then I'll be updating my website. But definitely, don't forget to follow. And also, if you have friended or followed me and for some reason you're not getting notifications, Facebook has been doing some weird things. I mean, they've been taking friends off of my friends list. I mean, one day I go on, I've got 7,000, and the next day I go on, I've got 5,400. Please, go back and put yourself on there. My friends list is maxed out, but you can follow me on there, and then you can find me other ways also. So please don't forget to do that part. And that would be great. And I'm hoping to real soon. I've been encouraging Gerald and Jane to do something subscription wise so that I can donate some books on their show and have the proceeds go to whatever they need expenses for the podcast, or they can donate it to whatever, thing they, pets or cancer or some other, type thing that they may have, something that, children's homes or things like that they would want to donate it to. But I would like to be able to do that for them as well coming up. So yeah, and I'm going to have them back on my show. Don't forget to go and look for them. They should be in the archives on my show. But again, at this point, you'll have to get a subscription. Although I may be doing some reruns coming up here as well. I had to do a rerun this weekend because of being out of town and not having my equipment with me. So does anybody have any questions that they want to ask before?
The last one I saw was, is the house still haunted? So I'm assuming where you last stayed.
Oh, yeah. The building?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is. The whole building is haunted. Everybody, as a matter of fact, I was thinking about, once I get the cover fixed, to take a book and leave it in each one of the mailboxes for the people that live there, because
with your phone number, please contact me.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Well, yeah. I changed the name of the street a little bit and that sort of thing to protect myself. But people have a right to know. I mean, people shouldn't be renting things or selling things to people without them being informed. I know when I sold my haunted house, I did try to inform the people and they didn't want to know. Well, that was their choice, but I would have been honest, about that. Because, if you've got somebody that moves into a house that maybe has an illness, it can exacerbate it, type thing. Or all of a sudden they have job loss, or if they have addiction, it gets worse, or if they have pain, it gets worse, all because these things feed on stuff. And, you definitely don't want to put your kids through that. Nobody in their right mind wants to be in it themselves, period. But to have to put your kids tag along in that too, that's terrifying for them. And then you're creating that lush that's like their chocolate that they love to feed off of, so also with TV, people beware. Right now with this time frame, you get this good movie that gives you that scary moment, or even watching some of the paranormal stuff. Sometimes be careful, because those things can come through electronics. Seriously. And if you're going to a movie, you're sitting there with your popcorn and you're getting that buildup of some climatic moment where you're going to get the bejesus scared out of you. That room is full of beings that are ready to feed on that lush that you're getting off in that fear moment.
Oh,
Yeah, so you've got to be careful even what you watch, because it all creates energy, specifically right now, because AI and people are putting things out there purposely to even take people like ourselves that normally wouldn't be, afraid of any kind of otherworldly being. You know what I mean? We would either tell it to get lost or tell it to come on. Let's go
right.
let's go get a cookie. But they're sneaking it in other ways with these high drama impact, fighting, people screaming and getting bloody murdered and stuff like that. And yeah, we love to watch it. It is entertaining. But right now, they're trying so many different ways to get that negative energy out to continue feeding the frenzy of the things that we can't see that are adversely affecting us. So please be responsible with even your television, what you're watching, how you allow it to make you feel or react with it. So,
Right.
just be responsible. But anyway, I am so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for letting me hog your show. Sometimes Bill listens to it and he says, you got to let the host talk sometimes. And I'm like,
We did.
I get on tangents, and I'm, so yeah.
We get
Well,
on
they
Friday
can
nights.
hear us anytime, especially Friday nights, when that's all we do is talk about our stuff. So we love having guests on, let them tell
Mhm.
their story. I mean,
we do our talking on Fridays, so it's your turn.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate being on so much. And Brian, yes, you're right. Shungite and selenite is good. You also, some of the tourmalines are excellent for, keeping that kind of way. But you have to be vigilant about your spiritual hygiene right now. You need to take your salt baths. You need to, again, I can't express it enough. All of the things that I said in the beginning, I'm going to repeat them just in case somebody just came into the room. Your salt baths, Himalayan salt or sea salt, something natural. You need to light a candle in the room so that you have all four of the elements. You have earth, you have the air, you have fire, you have the water. I go to Psalms. I think Psalms 91 is one of the ones that I use that you recite during that time. You stay in there, you soak for 20 minutes. You get out, you pat off dry, preferably with a white towel. Doesn't have to be, but it needs to be a clean towel that no one else has used. You don't rinse it off. You pat dry it off. Girls, that salt water, you'd be shocked at how soft it makes your hair. So you can go with that too, and try to leave it on your skin as long as you can. Do not wash in it. It's for soaking in. Do not wash in it. If you need to take your shower before you soak, or take your shower hours after you have soaked. The longer that can be on your skin, the more luminous it makes your auric field, which creates a rebounding for anything that tries to attach. It can't get close enough to your body to attach to it. It rebounds off. So that is so important. Also, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, at www.lynnmonnet.com. That's lynnmonét.com. I've been delayed on finishing my MACE classes. I've got a bunch of people on my list that I'm going to be reaching out to, including you guys, I promised. So, and they will be free sessions. They go about 2.5 hours, and then there's a follow-up session. Sometimes they're a little bit shorter, but they're well worth it for you to try out. Can take away pain, it'll definitely take your buttons away so that people can't, set you off and push your buttons anymore, because you won't have them anymore. But things have been delayed because of some personal things in my life. I only have 2 more weeks of classes, and then I'm on for my internship before I get licensed and all of that part done, because it is a licensed position where I will be able to practice in an office, but I'm not going to. I'm going to, leave it open for us to help clear our frequencies and get ourselves not so stuck in the 3rd dimension here to help out. So yes, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There it is. Right there. Guys, you can get these on Etsy. I do wear iron right here. I never take it off except for in airports, and I slip it in my purse and put it right back on when I pass through. So
Good memory, Brian.
there you go. That's right. That's absolutely right. So definitely keep, you got to keep yourself safe, because there are attachments that are coming off of people that want to attach to those with the light, because they want to dub it out. They want to create that chaos to pull you into it. So don't let them do it. So anyway, well, I love everybody. I'm glad to have been here, and thank you so much for having me. And I send love and light to, yes, Lori, that's right. Cleanse your stones also. That is so important. And read how you do it, because some of them, like citrine, citrine cleanses itself, but if you sit it next to another stone, it'll immediately neutralize it, which it has a unique quality. I think selenite also cleanses itself, but I don't know if it cleanses other things. But you also need to charge them. So you need to know whether they charge in the moonlight or the sunlight, and do it that way. And you don't have to leave them out an excessive amount of time. Also, put your crystals in your water, people. Clean them. After sitting in the water for 10 minutes, they molecularly change the components in your water, and then you drink that. And it's like crystalline light going all through your body and your cells. So don't forget to do that too. It's very, very, very important. You can also clean them with beach sand. Is another natural way that you just bury them in the beach sand and then take them out. That also neutralizes them and cleans them. But holy water on some of them too. But please read up on how to charge them, because you want them charged after you clean them, and make sure that you're doing it correctly. So everything is, and check more than one place, because everybody Googles, and sometimes if two places are saying the same thing, then it's a pretty good chance that they're doing it right. So, and when in doubt, don't sage yourself unless you know for sure what you're doing, and you're not going to have the bejesus scared out of you if the ghost comes flying at you. Because if you're wetting your pants and you're doing sage, you're still lotion all over the place. So, it's not helping very much. So definitely, reach out to somebody who knows and can help you.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and end it here, Lynn. Thank you for coming. This has been a great show. A lot of information and some news stories too.
Yes. And I've got a lot more too. So anyway, thank you so much for having me.
Next time.
Yes.
So we'll just say goodbye to everybody here in chat. Thank you for coming. We love all your comments, and thank you for listening to Lynn and adding to the stories in chat. So, you're going to do a heart?
I'm trying.
Yeah, and you're right. Selenite does not clean other stones, but it does clean itself.
My camera's not working
very well.
I saw your heart. I saw your heart.
Yeah.
There's fireworks.
Oh, look at that.
Worked.
There you go.
All right, let's try the heart again.
I think you're.
How did you do that? How did you?
You have to have an Apple or a Mac.
You have to have an Apple, and I got a little Apple mini Mac, so it's only Apple.
Okay, all right. Oh darn.
Lori wants a goat. Before we go,
really? I guess. I guess we'll leave with this.
A goat scream.
Everybody
right,
loves our
we'll leave
goat.
on the goat. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We love you. Keep looking up,
Keep your vibrations high.
and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Much love.